All righty, everybody. Welcome back to another, I don't know, what is this, a training, another hangout here in the Relevant Recruiter group. Relevant Recruiters, thank you for joining me today. If you can hear me, please drop a hi, a what's up, a hello in the comments below so that I know that you're here and you're with me. As you guys know that have been a part of the group for a while, we go live every single Wednesday. And the majority of those times we're talking about the Relevant Recruiter method and doing some free trainings. And as you guys that have been following for a while know that we do some client success interviews as well. So today I'm really excited to welcome and join me Lisa and Howard Chubinsky. They are chemical industry recruiting experts. They live in the Northeast, and we've got a fun story for that they're going to share with us today. So Lisa and Howard, welcome to the show. Thank you for hanging out with me.
Our pleasure.
We're looking forward to it.
Awesome. So I want to dive right in. We just were talking about this as a really good story of how you guys started this business and how you got this thing off the ground. You're a husband and wife team. I don't know. We're going to say Lisa or Howard. Who's going to lead this story? I'm going to start with Lisa. Can you give us a little backdrop of how you guys started this recruiting business that you have here?
Well, Howard and I have been married for nearly 30 years, and 10 years into it, I was already an experienced recruiter and working at a firm. And as I explained, the day that they were to announce my partnership, one of the partners passed away. And days after that, everything that they had promised me was taken away, including my commission. So I called Howard at work, and I told him what was going on. I said, I don't know what to do. He said, leave. And I was also pregnant with our second child at the time. And I said, what do you mean, leave? And he said, leave, go out on your own. And I did. I just packed up my stuff and told them, I said, I'm sorry, this isn't right. I'm going out and I'm going to start my own business. And I did for about a year. And then I kept nagging Howard. I said, we can really do this together. Let's do this. Let's do this. And we did.
That's right.
That's awesome. And so how has the experience been? It's 20 years you guys have been doing this business together, right? How has that been for you guys as a husband and wife team? I mean, how much is there, you guys getting some good conflict? You guys pretty aligned with everything?
No, I think part of it is separation. So that, basically on weekdays, Monday to Friday, we try to, when we wake up, we have coffee in the morning at 7 o'clock and we start to talk about work then. But, once it's time for dinner, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about work on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
I think, nobody tells anybody else what to do. We run our own desks. But on the other hand, we share candidates we give each other advice. A lot of times before we send out something important, in terms of an email or a strategy with regard to, how to close a particular search, we run ideas off each other. We proofread what we send out on important stuff. So it actually works out really well.
That's awesome. So you guys have kind of created some boundaries, to where you can keep some of this work and personal life separate then, it sounds like.
We're also both very loud talkers, so we can never share an office. We have to be separated.
There you go. So who usually wins the talking battle? Who usually talks over who there?
Oh, Howard.
In the first office we ever had, it was a large room, and we could see each other. And Lisa was constant. If like I scratched my nose, she would give me a hard time. So then after that, I moved to another side, sort of like I don't think we had a receptionist then. This is like 20 years ago. So I sat by the reception area just so I would be out of her, observation.
Yep. That's good stuff. So how did your guys' business evolve? Were you guys always specialized in one specific industry, or did that kind of evolve through time?
I would say it's like a lot. Yeah, like a lot of things. You come in by accident. Mm-hmm. So, and then if it works, you just keep on going. You always want to replicate what succeeds. So I had a client that I had worked with, and then he said, "How about can you help me with something else?" And that basically became the chemicals industry.
Right. Yeah. You guys have kind of hung your hat there for a while now, right?
Well, yes, we have.
Yeah. Awesome. Has that helped, for you guys? Is it beneficial to be so specific and niche? Because I know, when you're that, you have your client base, but then you have a candidate base that's kind of warmed and you can build relationships with. Is that help for more of a congruent, and more successful placements? Because I know that's what it's about at the end of the day anyways. So.
Well, I think that we can move a little faster because we know the same people over and over again. We network with the same people. And I think that that's beneficial to our clients.
Right.
So we have a lot of technical knowledge now, and it's hard to do this unless you really focus a lot on technical stuff. And it's also, it takes a long time to build candidates. You have to have credibility. You have to, demonstrate to them that you understand what they do. So there's an enormous amount of work involved. But
right.
In the end, it's been worth it for us.
That's excellent. So one of the things, that we work on in the program is getting you guys to stand out and separate from the competition. And obviously we have the niche, but, could you guys describe how you feel like you're positioned and how you stand out more after implementing some of those things in the program and how that's enhanced your position in the marketplace?
Well, you've encouraged us to take a look at some of the things that we write. We have videos now that talk about what we do. And one of the things that you've taught us, we do all of our own writing, but when we show it to you, I'm actually very impressed with how you can not change what we've said or our words, but just organize it in a little bit of a different way so it grabs people's attention.
Right. Excellent. I love that feedback. How about you, Howard?
Well, I was thinking about this, Donnie, as as I was starting to think what I could talk about. And so I'm a baby boomer. And when I started this business, I was faxing resumes when some of the people probably on this call were still in middle school. Now, nobody here, and none of the baby boomers have faxed, so no baby boomers are still faxing resumes.
Right.
But until basically we met you, I was still leaving voicemails.
That's
and
right.
Every once in a while, somebody would return my call and I'd fall out of the chair. And then in the back of my mind, I'd be wondering what's wrong with them, because you're not supposed to actually take these things seriously. Maybe it will encourage you to look at my follow-up email after, because my plan was basically I'd leave a voicemail so they kind of know I was there. And then the next day I would send a follow-up email saying, whatever, and now, you have to be, I think I understand why you call it the relevant recruiter, because you have to be relevant. You can't, so somebody like me, I have the choice. I have friends that have retired recently, and, so they're sitting around and watching Netflix. And you can't just say they're watching Netflix because of COVID, because they were doing it before COVID. I know.
Right.
There's no excuse for it. And so, if I wanted to, I could retire, but I'm not interested in that. I mean, a long time ago, Lisa got me a set of golf clubs, which I never used, and I gave it to one of my sons. So I'm just not going to do that. On the other hand, I was thinking about it a little more. So, we're in Pennsylvania, not in the Philadelphia area, not far from the Amish country, and they're still using blacksmiths there. But that's a very limited thing. You can't be totally out of date.
Right.
So, and here's the thing. I understand marketing. I don't have, but what you have you have an understanding of it with regard, for instance, you mentioned to us that it would be a good idea to do a welcome video. And that's stuff, that I know resonates. And last Thursday, I was helping one of my sons move to an apartment. We rented a U-Haul cargo van. And I'm sitting there, and I have the easy job, and then him and his friend are helping carry stuff up 5 flights of stairs. And so I'm looking at my phone, and then I see through LinkedIn, I have the app, that actually an HR director asked me if I do a certain kind of search. And of course I said yes. And then I actually got back to the house, and then I saw, this is really something I could fill. And it was that welcome video that made a big impression on her. So we spoke on Friday, and on Monday, I got the search agreement, and I've been recruiting on it today. So, I mean, and I give you credit for that, because, in a million years, I never would have thought to send out a welcome video. And I would have used LinkedIn just to pound a prospect for
Right.
send them an MPC. But basically I just, go right for the jugular.
Yeah.
And that's not a good approach. That may have worked years ago.
Right.
But in order to be relevant, you have to change with the times. Just like you can't fax resumes out anymore, you can't leave voicemail. You do have to build relationships. And I can be nice, but I am probably. But
We'll let Lisa answer that later. Yeah.
I'm very motivated to close sales. I mean, I used to do it years ago.
Right.
People were in middle school. I used to go on personal sales calls, and I give a pen to them and say, if you want to do this, you sign here. You can't. That's not. Right. That's yesterday's approach, and you have to be up with the times.
No, I love that, and credit goes back to you, Howard. I mean, I know that you're in your late 20s, and being able to step out of your comfort zone and do things that weren't part of what you kind of grew up with, so to speak. I mean, it's a lot of kudos to you for doing that and taking that leap and seeing that you can get a result from that right away. I mean, for both of you guys, from your videos, the first videos that you guys created, both of you guys got job orders from that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing just by putting yourself out there and not even there's no pressure in the video. There's not even a sell at all in the video. And that's where I think so many people overthink it, is just like, hey, I'm just out here to let you know who I am. I'm trying to be authentic. And you guys did a phenomenal job with that. Could you share, because I know video was new. Howard, you just brought it up, and Lisa, new for you. I mean, what were some of the things that you guys were thinking, or what some of the limiting beliefs or some of the fears that you had going before you posted that first video?
Well, just putting it out, afraid that people might say something really lousy on it and make a bad comment. That's always the fear, or mine anyway. Right. I don't know if Howard has that fear.
No, Donnie, I grew up in New York. I'm not afraid of really anything. I mean, when I was younger, I used to go places that people would be afraid of. It didn't even bother me. So, I mean, and the other thing, I mean, it helps to not really care about what people think.
100%.
I really don't. I mean, I want them to, I want my prospects and my friends alike and prospects to want to, utilize our services. But if somebody doesn't like, my presentation or something like that, I couldn't care less. I mean, you really have to have that kind of confidence, and so it helps.
And I think I agree with that. I think that's one of the biggest things that's out there that holds people back, is they have this fear of what everybody's going to think about what they have to say. And for me, I get a lot of shade in a lot of the things that I post. A lot of people coming back saying things that I don't care about necessarily, or things that are, harmful, if you will. But yeah, when you come from a place of not really caring, I had a coach tell me one time that the people that get a vote are the people that are working with you, right? Similar to what you're saying. Of course I desire to be liked. Of course I want my clients and, to be happy. That's different than me when I'm putting myself out there, and I think it's a good lesson of like, if I put myself out there and I'm coming from a place of value, and somebody has a problem with that, then great. I probably wouldn't want to do business with that person anyways. So I think it's a great thing to actually detect kind of the assholes in the world, so to speak, if you have some stuff out there and they respond negatively. But you'll find through time that you rarely get those things, more positive than negative.
And it's also, I think, I understand, I think we were talking about this before. You've got a background in football, and, I've had sons that have played, and, if you're afraid to lose, if you're afraid to get out on the field and play, you're never going to win. You can't be afraid to fail, because otherwise you're never going to win. And if sometimes it doesn't work out, that's fine, because you play. There's always next Sunday.
Yep. No, I think you make a great point. That's one of the things that I think you guys have done strong, is you just take the action, and then you can improve once the action's taken. But there's so many people that think themselves through all the scenarios before actually taking the action and then responding. And that's how we actually become better.
Well, you can't talk yourself out of it. And it was very evident to us that we want to keep doing this. We want to keep working. It was very evident that things needed to change a little bit so that we could start to be more visible and get in more business and do the things that other people want to do in that regard. And this has been an eye-opener for us. The things that you teach really are putting us in a position where we're what do you call it, with the opening of our LinkedIn and things like that, making it less generic,
Right.
and more on target with the things that we are doing in terms of our recruiting and targeting in terms of our candidates.
Right.
And I also like the beginning of the process that you put recruiters through with regard to an analysis of what your personal and professional goals are, and what the and it's a basic premise to say what the pains are of your prospects, because that really helps you focus in on things. And once you do that, you realize that these are the things that you can see how the things that you're trying to get us to do will advance your goals and basically alleviate the problems that the prospects are might be having. So it was helpful.
The 6 P's that you had us do,
Right.
that we now keep on our desk as a point of reference, so that if we start to go astray a little bit, even in marketing calls, it's
Right.
very helpful, because we can draw on that to help structure the call that we're having.
Yeah. Well, that's the big thing too in a business, is if you have your marketing and your sales and then your actual offer all aligned, it creates a heck of an experience for your clients, for your candidates, and how you differentiate yourself, how you show up, and things like that. So I think that's, for you guys definitely had the candidate and client experience buttoned up and down. And what we've been able to do now is really just kind of hone in on this front end part of the process. And I love your mention of the 6 P's, because that really just gives us that foundation for our messaging and pains and problems and how we're trying to show up. So, one of the other things that we work on in the program is our LinkedIn lead machine, and using conversations, direct messaging on LinkedIn to start conversations. What's that experience been like for you guys, going through that, implementing that?
Well, I had an experience recently where somebody mentioned that they have an opening.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know, great, whatever I said. But then he wanted me to pull it down from the internet and just get back to him. And I thought, maybe this is a good opportunity for a conversation. Before,
Right.
Maybe I would have done that. But then I had the luxury of time with this individual where I probed a little bit. Well, you do have it posted. I see how many people have responded. What's the issue?
Right.
And now we're in a conversation, which I think is a good way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because now maybe he'll see through some of the things I plan to go through with him that by working with us, his problem is solved.
Right. Right.
Which goes back to, kind of like what I was saying before. Lisa's going to gradually, incrementally move into that position of getting the search agreement signed. Whereas, before I was really going to an all or nothing approach. It's either more transactional in relationship. And so like you've kind of taught us that you've got to gradually, maybe in Lisa's case, maybe have the hiring manager come to the self-realization that what he was doing wasn't working,
Right.
and that Lisa can, help him.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest thing. If we're breaking it down to the basics of it, right? It's just position ourselves as being a helper. Here, you have these pains and these problems in your company. Here's how we can solve them. It's just a different way in, right? I'm sure, you guys obviously have had success in your business by that traditional pick up the phone, follow up, email, probably worked for years. And I've heard that one several times and probably still can pick up some wins from that, but having, another modern approach. But the common thing that I see happen is that people try to take that kind of traditional offline, I call the old playbook approach, and then go try to apply that to more modern, approaches and things. And what happens is the market just falls on deaf ears because the market doesn't want to be sold right away. So in if you guys can just explain like the messaging that you guys have created in some of our messaging strategies, there's no sales going on, yet you guys have gotten a couple orders from the approach already without even asking, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The welcome video talking about who we are, what we
Yep.
do, and just through communication, people
Mhm.
ask questions or put up a thought, and it starts a conversation. I think that's really the beginnings of relationship building with somebody
Yeah.
who maybe they're not ready today,
Right.
but they'll keep you in mind down the road.
Mm-hmm. Now, just out of curiosity, I mean, have you guys noticed the way that people respond to you when you're setting up an appointment this way versus the way that you guys were doing it before, where they're kind of now saying, hey, yeah, we've got something, you know, is there a difference in conversation or is it generally the same?
The one search I got last week, it was kind of like the same, but I think the HR director just really, I think she liked the welcome video. I don't think she'd been seeing that from other people. And so that was kind of like an icebreaker.
Right. Got it.
I think my experience is a little different than Howard's. I think the prospects that have come in on my desk, they didn't need for me to go through my sales pitch.
Right.
They seemed to accept the fact they knew they could help, that I could help them.
Right.
So we skipped that already.
Yeah.
And they just told me what they needed, and then we were off to the races.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of when you have that positioning and you start to show up as an authority, is like you get a much more qualified person on the phone where, yeah, you don't have to hard sell and then give them this whole backstory because you've already kind of done that. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things about, you know, going through the Relevant Recruiter program and the things that we're trying to achieve is not necessarily, you know, replace the phone in any way, shape, or form. It's making those phone conversations easier for you. Getting on the phone easier, as well as once you get on the phone, if we can have people that know, like, and trust us, you know, because I know one of the common challenges, and I think we even talked about this before you guys joined on, is that, yeah, for your existing customer base, if I were to go interview all of them, they would say Lisa and Howard are the best. But what about the cold prospects, right? What do they know about us? How do they see us in the market? And I think that's one of the big shifts that we're now seeing with you guys, is they're starting to see that you guys, you know, the way that your existing clients are. And that's the brilliance of the good marketing right there.
That exact question came up about 6 months ago. So Lisa and I, we have the same last name. And one of her clients, a good client, he's used them many times, he goes in the voicemail and he gets me by accident. I go, you know, John, you know, you're really lucky. You got me by accident. And then he has a good sense of humor. So he says, so who's the best recruiter? You and Lisa, it depends who you ask.
I'm curious who wins that argument more times than not. You guys should have a little fun with that. You know, do a little survey. That's good stuff. That's fun stuff. So, you know, how do you feel, Lisa? You mentioned something as we were talking before about, you know, you really having the control of this. Like, how does that make you feel now? Like that you are more of the marketer and you're not using a third-party resource. And I know you mentioned before that you've tried other, you know, third-party marketing agencies. And what's been the experience of somebody else doing it versus you doing this yourself?
Anybody that we've had doing social media for us before did a fine job. There was nothing wrong with it, but nothing happened. There was nothing came in from it. And something that you said, and I guess I just never thought about it before, you said, you have to do it yourself. And I thought about it. I've heard you say that a few times. And before we even approached you, I thought about it and I thought, well, I'm making all these calls every morning, you know, cold calling, just like I've been taught. Nothing's happening. If that time turned into writing my own material, really making a commitment to learning social media and learning how to do certain things, I won't be losing time. And slowly I am making that transition.
Right.
And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you're having a lot of fun. That's good. You know, one of the things that's kind of cool about this is, you know, as you see it work, is that it really helps you shift from, you know, everything with cold calling is effective as it used to be and still can be in certain things. It's still relied on manual effort and everything is one-to-one. Where when I create content and it might take me 30 minutes or an hour, that could see me, one person could touch thousands of people. And that's where the power is that we have our communication. We're communicating with people, you know, at 1,000 times a tick almost, once we get consistent with that content. And that's one of the things that people can kind of miss sometimes is like cold calling, yeah, one-to-one, and it's good for the direct sales, right? And I'm not knocking it. It obviously works and has worked, but when you throw these things on top of that, it's just so much more powerful. And it's great to hear, you know, that you taking that ownership. and that you can actually see kind of the replacement of time. Hey, if I'm going to do 2 hours of cold calling versus, okay, well, maybe I'll do an hour plus this instead. It's phenomenal time management, because I think, time is something that everybody can always use as an excuse. And really it's what's your priority, right? We can always make time for the things that are most priorities in life. And that's cool that you've been able to kind of shift this into more of one of your priorities in your business, and you're seeing the result from doing it.
Well, I find now that in the morning, I focus my time on anything that needs to be written, whether it's a write-up on a resume to send out to a client, whether it's writing something that I think I might like to post. That's when I'm fresher and I'm a little more creative. So I'll do that then. And as the day moves on, I do other things. And I think that's still a work in progress, how my day will ultimately be organized.
Right.
But it's different now.
Yeah. I think it's important. What you're teaching us, helps generate warm leads. And you really don't want to spin your wheels with people that aren't interested. I mean, it just makes sense to people that are receptive. And, if somebody's never going to use you, if they contact you and they say, yeah, I saw what you wrote and I actually have something, I don't know if you can handle this, but maybe, let me know if you can. That doesn't get any better than that. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm glad that you guys, 60 days in that we're seeing this type of traction. And like I said, it really goes to you guys and your ability to implement quickly and do the work and bust through the limiting beliefs. And I think the big thing is just buy into this new concept, right? And, when I see people like you that really jump and go all in on the program, then these are the types of things that can happen, but then I see some people that kind of dabble because they're still not sure if they can fully shift into it. And it's that big shift that you guys are taking that really makes that the biggest impact, right? Because it's not like you're questioning it. It's just like, hey, this is what I'm doing now. And so for me, it's great to watch. And you guys are an absolute pleasure to work with. We still have a couple more things that we're going to be doing and implementing over the next, 30 days at minimum. What are you guys kind of looking forward to or over this next 30 days?
Well, I think we're going to get a little more into creating emails and newsletters. That's something I've always wanted to do. And I think that that's going to be very, very beneficial for our clients. And also, I think I want to have a newsletter going out to our candidates. So I'm looking forward to that.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely do both on that. Howard, do you have anything to add on that?
I'm looking forward to eating in warm restaurants again. That's really easy about what I want to do. Apparently, I can qualify for perhaps the vaccine ahead of some other people. That would be nice.
Yeah. Shoot, get out so we can go have a nice warm meal. Yep.
Let's just say ripping the Band-Aid off some of those impromptu videos.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a big one for Howie and I.
Yeah. Well, those videos, they'll come, and we always talk about just listening to the stories that are happening, every single day with our clients and candidates and sharing that. But the video thing is definitely a process that you guys will go through and become better and better at and more comfortable at. And, we'll get you dialed in. But like I said, I really enjoy working with you guys. It's been a pleasure.
You also, and you're also very patient because, some of the software, you're patient because sometimes I don't get it right away.
Yep. Well, that's why I'm here, right? Is to help guide you along the way and show up where you guys are, struggling and provide any support that I can. So, I really appreciate it. Looking forward to us finishing out the next 30 days in the program and seeing where it goes from there. And I thank you guys, for joining me here and chatting with me today. It's been a lot of fun in sharing your story with everybody that's listening with us here. Is there, what's one piece of advice if you would give somebody that's on the fence with, maybe choosing to work with me?
Okay, I'll give it if you're a baby boomer. I think I might have said it before. You have a choice. You can retire, but if you want to stay in the game, you have to be relevant. That's why I think it was very, very intelligent for you to call it the relevant recruiter. Because first of all, if you're going to do this thing, you want to be successful. And I mentioned before, you can't use the old tools like faxing out or voicemail. And if you're going to do it, what's the point in doing it unless you're going to be successful? And you also can't look like a relic. I don't care what people think. But on the other hand, you're wasting your time. You don't want to waste your time, and you want to be able to help candidates and clients. And you can't do that if you're, it's like yesterday, I was thinking about it, yesterday's newspaper, but I don't even read a newspaper anymore. I read my phone, so you got to move on. You got to stay with the time,
Yep.
and you have to be current. And if you're not, then you might as well just get out of business, because you're going to wind up going out of business. You're going to wind up, nobody's going to be listening to your voicemails. Nobody's looking at your spam emails. And I mean, if you're not going to change with the times, then it's just going to pass you by. You'll be a blacksmith.
I'm going to have to hire you as a spokesman, Howie. I love it. Lisa?
He's right.
There you go. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just do it.
Awesome.
Donnie, you've been wonderful for us. And the class is a lot of fun. And I think you're right. If you're going to be marketing in this way, you should be doing it yourself, because the time is available to you when you're contacting so many people at one time.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you guys. I thank you again for sharing that. We'll see you guys tomorrow on tomorrow's call. But for the rest of you that are listening, thank you so much. Leave a comment or leave a comment in the comment section below if you enjoyed today's interview. And thank you guys so much. For the rest of you guys, I'll be back next week at 12 o'clock Pacific on Wednesday, like normal. Howie, Lisa, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right, take care.
Thank you. Bye, Donnie.